let me ask you guys this. Jeff, you mentioned that Chet Holmgren was on the bench. And look, guys that are still coaching, you can politely say no comment on this one. But Goodman, the officiating in this game, it feels like it's been a storyline throughout the tournament, which is really frustrating. And I wanted to make sure that we didn't talk about this towards closer to the end of the show, because to me, this win was about Arkansas having a better game plan and out executing Gonzaga. But you can't ignore the fact there was that out of bounds call that the officials missed. There was a trip that they missed. Both of those missed calls led to buckets for Arkansas. And the fouls on Chet, I thought that he probably had 3 actual fouls instead of 5 for fouling out. It's been consistent throughout the tournament. We saw it with North Carolina, their comeback. Baylor's comeback against them. I think North Carolina got called for 13 straight fouls in that game. Is it a problem, and is it something that we can fix, or is it just what it is in college basketball?
It's been a problem. It's not like this is anything new. We say this every year. We forget about it, and we say, well, yeah, it's worse this year than it. No, I don't think it is. I think it's been pretty consistent. The only thing I would say is these guys are tired at the end of the year when they should be fresh. And I've said it, and I'll say it over and over, and nothing will ever be done. But what they need to do is have one universal assigner that doesn't send these guys all over the country, right? You don't send them to LA and back to Omaha and then back to LA and then to South Carolina. Like, come on, what are we doing here? Keep them in a region for a week. You want to pull them out of that region at some point, keep them in that other region for a week. Let them drive 2 games. Let them not have to get on flights, and don't let them. I know you, again, I get it, because they're not going to pay for benefits and make them full-time employees. But you got to try to cap. You can't be working 21 straight days or 21 to 22. They're going to be tired at the end of the year when we need them to be at their best, and they're not.
I'd agree on that. I think we get diminishing returns because of those guys. They're working 5-6 days a week. A lot of them are older guys, right?
And a lot of them, that's their side gig too, right? Like, this isn't just their full-time job. They have other jobs too.
And so, I mean, they're humans. They make mistakes. Right. And so they're going to miss calls. It's the nature of it, right? As coaches, we make bad calls ourselves. Kids miss shots, turn the ball over. But unlike them, we got to go answer questions from guys like you guys a lot and say why.
They don't.
Right? And for them, they go home and, even if they get it wrong, they may say they got it wrong, but the next night they're officiating somewhere else. So there's no real accountability until this time of year, right? When you're trying to advance in the tournament. But it's a pretty good gig, man, for guys who don't have to answer questions about why they did something.
That's,
Frank's quiet. Why is Frank so quiet over? You don't have a job right now, Frank. Come on, bring it.
He's a big fan of the officials.
Here's one thing that I think is really messed up is they're asked to officiate the game a certain way to make the NCAA tournament, and then they get in the NCAA tournament and they officiate the game completely different. And that creates a problem. That because
how would you change it? What would you? And I know we don't have a lot of time. You tell me, Rob, what we got left right now. But what is the way to fix this problem?
Here, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, if you ask any official that works multiple leagues, he'll tell you that the SEC is by far the most athletic league in the country. So now you take an official that's been working nothing but Big Ten games, which Big Ten officials pretty much work Big Ten games. And the Big Ten is an unbelievably well-coached league, but the athleticism is not the same. Different. Same thing with Gonzaga. They don't play in a conference that presents what Houston brings to the table. And now you put a Pac-12 official in a Houston game, they're going to call some fouls on the Houston players because they've never officiated that physicality. And if you take an official that's done Houston 5 times, and now he officiates the Gonzaga game, the Gonzaga people are not used to those guys being allowed to play with that physicality. So I don't know how you fix it other than making officials work every league. That's why I'm with you. I think it should be a universal deal. And what I wouldn't do is let officials go from California to Nebraska on 2 days for 2 games over a 3-day period.
Makes no sense.
I'd make a group of guys work the West Coast for a week and then send them to the Midwest and then to the South and the Northeast and just keep moving guys around.
And then when they leave the region, they get 2 daes off in between.
And here's the other problem in the NCAA tournament. You got me started on referees. Now you got to deal with me. Now, here's the other problem. So you take in the NCAA tournament, you take an SEC guy that's seen athleticism, and you take a Big Ten guy that officiates a league where they set 1 million screens, and then you take a West Coast Conference guy that's not used to the size and athleticism that these 2 leagues present. You put those 3 guys in a game, they've never worked together. They don't have that flow to call the game consistently. So now, Jeff, you're the referee on the baseline on my side of the floor. You're calling some things that the guy on the other baseline doesn't call. And you can say it all evens out. No, it don't. If you're always on my baseline. And it mess, it just that's what I think complicates the NCAA tournament.
I agree. Listen, we gotta head to a break here in a second. When we come back, we're going to talk Villanova, we're going to talk Michigan, and why Colin Gillespie is the best closer in college basketball.
Clear for 90.
One thing that was mentioned to me by a WCC coach is that Gonzaga, when they get in the tournament, is not used to not getting every single call. He basically said, let me find the text. It was they only get the best possible whistle in the WCC, the best possible whistle. So they get into the NCAA tournament. You got all these guys that are physical and going to get up in them, and all of a sudden they're not getting every single call. You don't have Timmy getting 20 free throws a night. Changes the way that you can do some things.